Welcome back to my 32 beer challenge, or my 32 beer playoff, or my 32 beer Super Bowl. So, 32 beers. I'm going to find out which one's the best. And now we're on round 8. Harp Lager from Ireland, 4.5 ABV. It is a, let's see, a European pale lager. And it's going up against Foster's Lager from Australia. Foster's Lager is, I believe it's, let's see, 5% ABV. And it's an adjunct lager. Now, in a previous bracket, I had Foster's Lager. I think won first round, lost second round, went down to the loser bracket. And then it started beating everybody in the loser bracket that I went up against, which surprised me. Because Foster's Lager is one of those beers that people say isn't any good. It's not rated very highly on Beer Advocate or Rate Beer. Most Australians will tell you that we don't drink Foster's Lager. That's okay. I don't care. But that's what surprised me, because when I tried it and when I compared it to the other beers that I went up against, it did really well. I thought it was going to sweep through the loser bracket and come back and take on the winner of the winner bracket, which is what the loser bracket does. It gives them a second chance. So I'm having a triple elimination. So if it loses in the first round, then it goes down to the loser bracket. And if it loses anywhere in the loser bracket, then it goes down to the second loser bracket. So every beer is going to be sampled at least 3 times, and it has at least 3 chances of winning. You got to lose 3 times before you're out. Now, here we go. I can see the Harp Lager is a bit darker. They appear to have a similar carbonation. There is more of a head being retained on the Foster's, but it could be because of the way it was poured out of the can. Who knows? Anyway, I'll have to close my eyes and mix these up, so I don't know which one is which. And honestly, I've had Harp Lager in several places, and always tasted very watery, weak tasting. And whereas Foster's Lager had a bit more flavor to it, at least as I remember. So, although Harp Lager is the 8th highest rated beer out of the 32, and Foster's Lager is the 8th lowest rated beer out of the 32, Harp Lager is a big favorite to win this one. So is there going to be an upset here? There's only been one upset so far, and that was Corona. Corona, surprisingly to me, is not that bad of a beer. And based on my previous experience with Foster's, it's not that bad of a beer either, at least not as bad as they make it out to be, or at least some people make it out to be. So we'll see if these Beer Advocate and Rate Beer ratings hold true. All right, now, pretty sure I don't know which one is which, and I do know that Foster's had a bit more of foam on it, so I'm going to keep my eyes closed. Not bad. A little sweetness in there. Got some bite to it. Some flavor. Probably the Foster. But let's see, try this one. I should have had some water here so I can rinse my mouth out. But oh well. I'll just go back and forth. Kind of more watery and weaker tasting going in, but a good flavor finish. How do I describe it again? I'm just not that good at describing these flavors. What I call it, a corn flavor or malty flavor, hoppy flavor, not necessarily. Well, there are different kind of hops, and when you have a real hoppy IPA, I'm well familiar with that flavor. But this isn't the same kind of hoppy flavor as an IPA. I mean, not citrusy at all. Maybe a bit of a corn taste. Although corn by itself doesn't really have much of a taste to it. So how can you really describe what corn tastes? Corn tastes like corn, which is pretty much like nothing. That's why you got to salt it up and butter it up, to get some flavor out of it. Between the two, this one is weaker. Weaker tasting, that is. The flavor is weaker. I'm leaning towards this one, which I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that's the Foster's, but I don't know. And I'm not going to look at the bottom of the glass until I've made a decision. Now, one thing that I've noticed is when you drink one beer sometimes or two beers, some of the bad flavors that you didn't catch at first start coming out. They start emerging after the more you drink of it. And it's kind of like that with Coors and Miller High Life, and especially with Dos Equis and Red Stripe. And so, Red Stripe and Dos Equis was so bad after the first one, because the bad, weak, or whatever flavor that emerged, I didn't even include it in this 32 beer challenge because I didn't like it. And Perumi was another one that I really didn't want to include because I kind of figured that if I did, it's going to lose right off the bat. But the thing is, when you take a beer like this and you first take a drink of it, you think, that's nice and smooth and crisp and refreshing and good flavor. But maybe by the time you get to the end of that beer, you might be singing a different tune. I don't know. At least I was in many cases. So that's why I really don't want to pick a winner here until I finish both of these. I might as well open my eyes, and I don't know which one's which. This one has more foam. Maybe this is the Foster's. Well, I'm guessing that this, I can't really tell. This one might be the darker one. But as I said, I was leaning towards this. Tastes a little bit better, or a little bit stronger. More bite to it, more crispness to it. Crispness. So I guess that's a good way to describe it. Crispness. Kind of the opposite of smoothness. This one's smooth. It's not much to it when it goes in, which is why I like this one. Because it seems to me that the beer starts getting weaker the more you drink of it. So you want something that's going to still give you that crispness after a few beers, or after at least one or two. So, how do I judge these? How do I pick a winner? Well, it's usually, which one would I get another one of after I finish this one? Do I want to get another one of these or another one of these? And right now, it seems I want to get another one of these. Where this one kind of has a bit more of a dry finish. It's kind of like this one. This and this is this one, but muffled. One way you might think about it, slightly muffled, slightly suppressed, less crispy, less flavor. Flavor is pretty much the same, but a little bit less. But not bad. It's kind of like this. This one is like this one, but with a little bit of water added to it, it seems to me. So European pale lager versus an adjunct lager. And most people, they know how adjunct lagers are, or at least they think they know how they are, and they're generally considered to be one of the worst beer styles. Because adjunct lagers are supposed to be made with barley malt, but instead of using that, they use substitutes. Substitutes which are cheaper and better for mass-produced beers. And generally the beer snob community hates mass-produced beers. Big beer. Which is that. But that one might be too. Since it's pretty much everywhere. It's just made in Ireland. But there's no adjuncts in here. Everything is supposed to be the way beer is supposed to be made with Harp Lager. And generally, I go to Irish bars, Irish restaurants, Irish pubs, whatever you want to call them, and look at all the Irish beers they have there, and all of them are under 5% or around 5%, and you would think that they would make some good, strong beers in Ireland, but evidently they don't. At least I haven't found any, at least not in any Irish pubs. They're all like this. They're Smittix, they're ales, what's another one? Guinness, of course, extra stout. Stouts are supposed to be very strong, but Guinness extra stout it's only around a 5% beer, and it tastes like water. I don't see what the big deal with that is. I really don't. Every Guinness that I've had, I'm thinking, geez, what'd you do? Mix it half with water? You get a stout or a porter from a craft brewery, and those are strong. Very strong, very flavorful. And a lot of alcohol, something like that, 7, 8, 9% ABV. But Guinness, it's like a light stout. I'm not a fan of Guinness, to be able to tell you the truth. So this one, I really don't. If this is Foster's, and I still got a bunch of Foster's in here, if that's what this is, I'm not looking forward to drinking the rest of it. But this one still has some flavor, and it's Harp. So that means I got to drink this Foster's. Great. Well. Harp gets the win. Foster's moves right down into the loser column, or the loser bracket. The first loser bracket. And Harp advances to the next round in the winners bracket. So what do we got coming up next? Grolsch. Grolsch Premium Lager. European Pale Lager with a 5% ABV. I don't think it's from Netherlands, I think. Either that or it's from Belgium, I'm not sure. And it will be going up against Michelob Lager. And I think that's going to be a good one. Because I've done Michelob in a multi-beer comparison blind taste test. And Michelob was good. See, Michelob, even though it's big beer, mass-produced, and made by Anheuser-Busch, who everybody hates, at least the beer snob community, it's not an adjunct lager. That's the one thing Anheuser-Busch has going for them, Michelob. It's a regular lager, American lager, classified as, and let's see, and it's, I believe it's only 4.8%, which is surprising. Should be 5, in my opinion, but it's going to be a good contest, I think. So stay tuned and watch me put Michelob against Grolsch. And maybe some of you haven't heard of Grolsch, but It's available in the liquor stores here, and I'm assuming that it's pretty much available nationwide. Because if it's available here, then it's probably available nationwide, unless it's a Florida craft beer. Because the beer selection here isn't that great. I mean, we don't even have a Schlitz here. And I wish we did, because I really wanted to include Schlitz in this 32 beer challenge. Because, surprisingly, on the beer sites, Schlitz has a decent rating. It's the beer that I used to drink when I was a preteen, up until about 12, 13, 14. Then I had one of my best friends. His dad bought an Anheuser-Busch distributor, so he's selling beer at all the taverns and restaurants in the area. And I'm hanging around with my friend, and Schlitz, get out of here. So we're drinking Busch. Busch was our beer. We'd go out on a Friday or Saturday night on the weekend. We'd always get 12-pack of Busch. And eventually, at some point, we changed from Busch.